Mark Kirko and his boys just spent years making Jiggies of Time, and from what I can tell, it was worth it. This is one of the biggest, and possibly the biggest and most ambitious Banjo Kazooie mod that I have seen thus far, which I knew would be the case ever since I played the demos for it all that time ago. As the name suggests, this is a crossover between Banjo Kazooie and Ocarina of Time. But it's not just a straight port of all the level models with Jiggies and notes plopped all over the place. This is a very uniquely realized interpretation with a lot of effort and detail put into it. While it has a lot of the immediacy and simple pleasures of the collectathon format of Banjo Kazooie, it also has a lot of the puzzle solving of Ocarina of Time. The story is that Grunty is a bitch, so she took over Hyrule. Turns out Ganondorf is too busy playing Zelda 2 on NES and sucking at it. Story of my life. There are all sorts of hints and visual clues all over the place to prod your imagination to go exploring. You'll find all sorts of places that weren't even in Ocarina of Time, like how Lake Hylia has all these giant floating platforms in the air, or how Nabnut has a place in the Deku Tree, or Boggy's room in the Forest Temple. I never took him for a Foo Fighters fan. Every level is incredibly detailed and fun to play through, but it isn't until the Forest Temple that the game demonstrates the full scope of its ambitions. This level is not just about running around and collecting things. This is a very complex level. There's a whole ass language with its own set of characters, and you gotta find all these little clues everywhere to decipher what they mean, to decode the writing on the walls. It even recommends you get a camera, a pen, and a piece of paper. God damn. The greatest thing about this game is that none of the environments seem unnatural in the context of Banjo Kazooie. Every environment has been modified and detailed to match the aesthetic perfectly. As always is the case with Kirko hacks, the game has a shitload of Easter eggs all over the place, typically in the form of games being left around. Who the hell would leave boxed Super Nintendo games lying around? Those things are collector's items, some of them go for hundreds of dollars on eBay. There's a ton of references all over the place, even Metroid himself makes an appearance. Unfortunately, a handful of levels didn't make the cut for this game, like the Fire Temple and the Shadow Temple, but everything else is intact, albeit with liberties taken here and there, so that it better complements Banjo Kazooie's gameplay and atmosphere. I think the main goal was to make sure the game wasn't a completely confusing fuckfest. I think if every single area of every single dungeon made the cut, it would be way too confusing and frustrating. Remember, in Banjo Kazooie you have to get all 100 notes in one good run, because if you die, it takes them away from you and you have to grab them all over again. So let's say if the Water Temple was half as fucky in this game as it is in the original, that would be hell. You have Hyrule Field, which almost acts as a hub world. But the interesting thing is a lot of the levels in this game are accessed through other levels to make it more consistent with Ocarina of Time's design. You have to go through Kakariko to get to Death Mountain, or Castle Town to open up the Door of Time to get to the final level. I think my favorite area in the whole game is Lon Lon Ranch, which you can only access at night. Oh yeah, I didn't explain that yet. On Hyrule Field, there are these statues that you can stand in front of to switch between day and night. Mostly this just means you can access different levels in Jiggies, but it still looks cool, doesn't it? Lon Lon Ranch has been turned into this carnival zone, which is awesome. There's a Ferris wheel, a broken roller coaster with skull minecarts like Donkey Kong Country, got all these little circus tents, there's this drop of death into this tiny bucket of water, there's all this blood and bones scattered next to it from people who missed the mark. Damn, this game is brutal. It can be pretty damn hard too, actually. It's mostly pretty reasonable, but sometimes it's a bitch. Like when you have to use the golden feathers to jump across the Venus bear traps in the Dodongo's cavern, there's this icy slide section which was added to Zora's domain. This is a fucker. Thank God the later versions of this mod don't murder you for falling off cliffs. The final fight with Grunty is balls too, because sometimes a glitch happens where the last small Jinjo statue refuses to activate, which made me supremely angry. But it's mostly fairly stable. There are a ton of sweet minigames in here too, which is common to both Banjo and Ocarina. Like this part where you have to shoot eggs at doors to reveal those golden crocodiles, who were already a bitch to begin with. Then there's this one section where you go through a level lifted straight out of Super Mario Kart where you have to sprint to the end of the course within a time limit to get a Jiggy. That was pretty fun. The game also has all new transformations. Well, they work the same way as existing ones, but they're made to look more like Zelda counterparts. You can be a Dodongo, a broomstick, a Tektite, a bomb bag. Gotta love the bomb bag. One thing I really enjoy about this game is the dialogue. The characters always have something interesting to say, but Banjo and Kazooie themselves have some of the coolest dialogue. At random intervals of time, they'll just start talking about shit. Kazooie's always moaning about how much it sucks that they're in a ROM hack and not an actual game while Banjo's trying to stay optimistic. It's really sweet. Another thing this hack does really, really well, again, is the music. Every song has been adapted, not just into the Banjo Kazooie sound fonts, but has also been reworked to match the energy of Banjo Kazooie. Remember, Banjo and Zelda are thematically quite different. Ocarina is more of a grand adventure, while Banjo is an immediate collectathon, and that requires a different energy, and I think the music captures that perfectly. As one of my most anticipated ROM hacks for years, I can definitely say this lived up to my expectations. And if you're a fan of Banjo Kazooie, Ocarina of Time, or just enjoy playing good video games, I can easily recommend this hack. That's where I'm going to leave it for today, because I don't want to spoil all the surprises. But bottom line, this is a AAA hack, and the amount of time spent on it can be clearly seen in almost every respect. And I can easily recommend playing this game, right now. Do it!